listening to the Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. I'm old Alan Autry, honored and humbled to have you with us today, especially those members of Autry's Army. Our small little band of warriors is growing every day, fighting for faith, family, and freedom, which we will never retreat from, thus the name, Alan Autry No Retreat. There was a group in the 70s, a musical group called the Spinners. Some of y'all there might remember them. Made some great music. Fast, we'll get Jose to do a little bumper music one of these days with the Spinners. Well, there's another group of spinners out there, and unfortunately, they're not making good music. In fact, they're making very bad music, if you will, as I take this analogy to the absurd. In fact, they're, I believe, playing very dangerous music. And we're talking about the team surrounding Biden, the group of spinners there trying to spin everything that this man is doing, bless his heart. But, I hate beating up on him, but it's not beating up. It's just telling the truth, folks, because as much as he's probably a great guy from what I hear, both sides of the aisle. Seems like a decent fellow, but never more ill-prepared have we seen a president take office than Joe Biden. He's in rarefied air, if you will, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse. And don't take my word for it. The man who hired him as his running mate, Barack Obama, has reportedly said and verified by many witnesses that he said never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to screw things up. It just seems like everything the man touches goes to crap. We've seen it, in the first year, Afghanistan, inflation, the border. And yet his army of spinners, which not only, they're not confined only to his immediate advisors, such as Susan Rice. By the way, where is Susan Rice? I have never seen this woman since he took office. This was one of his key hires, a holdover from the Obama administration. It was celebrated as the voice of reason. We got a powerful advisor that's going to keep old Joe on the right track. It's like it's a myth. She's nowhere to be seen on any show, in front of any camera. Very interesting. But the team of spinners extends to the press as well, most of what they call the mainstream press. And the latest example of the spinners at work is the New York Times. They wrote an article the other day, and in that article, they were praising Joe Biden's performance so far in the crisis in the Ukraine. And their main point of gushing praise centered around his ability to remain at ease during this crisis. This is an exact quote. I'm not paraphrasing. I'll let you know when I paraphrase. This is verbatim. His ability to remain at ease during this crisis. They credited that ability to remain at ease with his 50-year history in Congress, in the Senate, in particular his service on the Foreign Relations Committee. Now, words can be very tricky. Some people equate being confident with being arrogant, and even extremely confident is being arrogant. Nothing can be further from the truth. True, healthy confidence is not rooted. I just found a new word, Jose. Rooted. It's not rooted in arrogance. True confidence is rooted in humility. A truly confident person knows how little they have control of. A confident person knows they're going to do their best, let God do the rest. They respect people, regardless of their station in life. They don't think they're any better than anybody, yet they don't feel they're any worse than anybody. It's good, healthy confidence. Arrogance is all about oneself. Narcissism comes out of arrogance. Self-centeredness comes out of arrogance. So a lot of people equate those two. And In this case, this writer for the New York Times, and it just got great reviews by MSNBC, CNN, CBS, even ABC. Yes, this writer just hit the nail on the head. How many times have you heard that? I'm just tired of hearing that phrase. I've said it before. We got to retire that phrase. I think you hit the nail right on the head. But they're just gushing about this guy's article, spinning something to the positive for Joe Biden, saying his ability to be at ease during this crisis is somehow a really good, strong quality and shows great leadership. And again, at ease is not where a president, a leader of any country right now, because we're talking about the possibility of World War III, where every leader of every country would be involved. Difference between being strong in the face of adversity, having a cool head, being able to be unflappable in the face of adversity and crisis, and being at ease. At ease, there's certain things you just can't be at ease with, because at ease means you really don't see, in my estimation, the severity of a situation. You're at ease with things you need to be focused on and really be in a state of mind where there's a sense of urgency, there's a sense of what could happen, not letting that make you become, have paralysis of analysis and decision making, but understanding the situation. John F. Kennedy was not at ease with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was not at ease with what Hitler was doing over in Europe prior to World War II, and certainly not during World War II. Abraham Lincoln was not at ease when the South said we're going to secede. And by the way, we're going to keep our slaves. You want to come and get them? Come on. They were strong, unflappable, but focused on that issue. If you've seen this, countless documentaries and books written about Abraham Lincoln, in his own words, the tremendous toll it took on him. He thought about it night and day. Why? Because certain things require that of the leader. That's why you see Lincoln coming in office 1860, and by the time the Civil War was over, he had aged 20, 30 years. John Kennedy talks about, during that Cuban Missile Crisis, the sleepless nights, constantly on the phone trying to defuse this thing before it escalated. You can go on and on. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, you can see how he aged. And maybe Joe just has aged to the point where he's at ease with every crisis. That ain't good. And it's not good to be at ease with a border that is so porous you're letting millions of people through that we don't know who they are. And you're at ease with it, so you don't really think it's that important. You don't respond. You can't be at ease with surging crime rates all over the country. Philadelphia just passed the 100 murder mark, way ahead of last year's pace, which last year's pace broke a record. Can't be at ease with that. Inflation that is truly causing so much havoc on the budgets of folks. Gasoline, my goodness, I filled up my car just yesterday. Astounding. Now, I can afford it. I'm not a rich man, but I can afford it. But it hurts. But I think about all the folks that, you put that gas increase on top of the food price increase, rising rents all over the country. You can't be at ease with that, with inflation. You can't be at ease with surging out of control crime. You can't be at ease pulling out of Afghanistan. And you're so at ease that you pull the military out before the citizens. And the citizens get slaughtered there. You can't be at ease knowing that your policies allowed 13 of our precious American soldiers to be blown up by a suicide bomber, that you were part of the policies that let that individual get out of the prison there while we're doing our so-called withdrawal, which was a retreat, and you're at ease with that. You're somehow at ease with American people still trapped over there, being hunted down day and night by the Taliban to suffer unimaginable consequences. But you're at ease with it. I see it. This guy wrote an article as in praise, and I'm nodding my head going, you're right. He does appear to be at ease with all of this stuff going on, including Ukraine. Now, having said that, I am still astonished because some of his decisions that he's made, some of the choices that he's made, I don't totally disagree with. He says we don't want to escalate this situation. I'm with him on that. But there's ways that you go about doing that. You don't de-escalate from a position of weakness. There's a way to hold your line and stand firm without threatening World War III. It's been done over and over. Reagan did it. He very adroitly followed that line with Gorbachev. Tough as nails, going, hey, we're going to create Star Wars unless you come to the table. We're going to build a shield around the United States, so when you fire your nukes, they can't get through to us. But guess what? Our nukes are going to be able to get through to you. And by the way, I started this program 3 weeks ago. Would you like to talk, Mikhail? And he came to the table. But he didn't threaten to go in and invade Russia or invade one of Russia's allies. I'm very, very concerned about this attitude, at ease. And I'm extrapolating this further, and some of you may just think I'm off base there. Hey, you got a right to do that. That's what this show's about. If you disagree with me, call up. Love to have you on the show. I've never claimed to be an expert. I have claimed to have a little bit of common sense. Out of all of my faults were too many to mention. We're only a 1 hour show. One of the few strong points I think I have is a little bit of common sense. And you can thank my mother and father and a lot of good mentors and the good Lord above for that. But when I see Kamala Harris laughing, giggling like a teenager with the Poland president of which has to make a decision because a Russian missile exploded just a few miles before his border. That if the missile would have been errant, could have fallen into Poland, God forbid, hit a village, kill someone, then you have the basis for Article 5, which is all-out alert. We've been attacked. Every country in NATO is compelled to come and aid Poland and go after whoever attacked. And we know who that is. Russia. And we know who Russia's ally is. China. But you'd have to be awful at ease to think you could giggle like that. Common sense will tell you one thing. If you're Kamala Harris, common sense would tell you, if you had a list of do's and don'ts at that press conference, which the whole world is going to see, everybody's tense, people are dying, maternity wards are being bombed, mothers are losing children. You see the videos, you see the carnage, you see the heartbreak. Everybody, you would have on your list, I would hope, in your top 3 is, please don't say, I got to make sure I don't say anything that seems to make light of this situation in Ukraine when I'm up there at that dais. And I certainly want to make sure I don't giggle like an immature teenager in her sophomore year in high school that just heard her best friend's dating the high school quarterback. Yeah, I think they are both totally at ease. I think they're living in an alternative universe. Where Joe Biden has just checked out. I think he's making policy in between licks on an ice cream cone. Somebody's there taking notes, takes a big old lick of that rocky road. And yeah, I'll send a few stingers. Well, yes, I do. Kamala Harris, I've heard things now heard things for a long time that I don't make judgments on until I have more information. But what I'm seeing from her seems to validate what I've always, from sources I have, I do still have some sources in government and some very close to her that tend to make what I've been told look all too real. And that's the fact that she doesn't prepare. There's something about preparing, taking notes. Maybe she was so smart in school she never had to take notes. She doesn't want to be briefed. She thinks it's boring. She wants to be authentic. She wants to be able to ad lib because somehow she's been able to make it through life, become a DA, become a senator, what have you, using that technique. God knows why. But, she was exposed during the campaign. It's not being very good on her feet, coming across as ill-prepared, and coming across as just not serious. And my goodness, if we've ever needed serious leaders in this world, and certainly the leaders of what is still the biggest superpower, the United States of America, it's now. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I think you probably heard the news that China is firmly in Russia's corner. We talked about on this show way back. Captain Obvious here, but a lot of people push back on me. I said, China's behind this thing. It's don't think for 1 second Putin's going alone into this thing. What does that mean? Well, it changes the whole dynamic of this whole war. And there's something going on, a reordering of this world that we all are required to pay attention to. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat. We'll be right back. Oh boy. And folks, I'm all for a good joke. I've always said, don't let the circumstances overwhelm you. As the mayor of Fresno, I lived by that. I was in office for just about 9 months when 9/11 hit. And at that time, every major city, especially on the coast, California and on the East Coast, were told to watch out. This could be the beginning of many attacks. And although we weren't a primary target in terms of the analysis of potential targets, we were a target. The food that we grow here, you blow up a dam up there in Military, there's a lot of ways to poison the water that terrorists could do. They decided to do an all-out attack. But I get it. My job was also to make sure the people of Fresno felt as calm and secure as possible. But I didn't for 1 second minimize what had gone on. I certainly was not at ease with that tragedy. In fact, I said, and I went right to City Hall, gave a speech, and I was so proud of my city because I said, listen, all the cities in California sent their people home. I said, I'm not shutting down Fresno. I'm not going to give in to these terrorists. But I did say any worker there that wants to go home may do so. But I'm staying, and we're not shutting City Hall down. We only had 3 people out of a workforce of over 3,000 that went home. So proud of the people of Fresno, city workers, city employees. Unbelievable. I know somebody out there saying you're being too tough on Biden and Kamala. All I'm asking is for them, just start conducting yourself like you're the president and vice president of the United States. That's all. Simple as that. Don't convolute it any further than that. Just, it's hard to say this because you're talking about a 79-year-old man, but grow up. But then I look at his record, and could we have expected anything else? And I stand by my position. I believe he will have a false flag type operation with Biden stepping down from office. They'll say it's some medical reason or what have you. But I just did not see him making it to the midterms. I think they'll make that change, the Democratic machine. And they'll say, hey, what do we got to lose? And I think that's why Kamala Harris is over there.
30 seconds.
trying to get her ready for that role. All right, we're going to be back on radio in just a few seconds.
Now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome back to Alan Autry, No Retreat. Okay, I've spent the first, let me look at my Democrats. Now let me turn the Autry turrets of Autry's army to the Republicans. Equal opportunity, hopefully constructive criticism here on the Autry show, No Retreat. Because I got to call it like I see it. Maybe that's why I'm not on too many political party lists, which is just fine with me. I was raised to be an independent thinker. That's, if you want to blame somebody, blame my mom and dad. They were independent folks. They made up their own mind. They didn't let people make their mind up for them. They were, that is one thing I learned from them. And I just thank the good Lord that they were who they were. They didn't preach it. They lived it. Very independent folks. They really detested to see stronger people or people who thought they were more intellectually superior to others control others, because they saw that control oftentimes turn to abuse and disrespect. And that is what happens. You know, Plato said when this is one of the penalties of not being involved in politics is you end up being governed by inferiors. So when you say to yourself, well, I don't want to get involved in that, well, think about that quote from one of the smartest men ever to walk the planet. I'll say it one more time. One of the penalties is from Plato. One of the penalties of not being involved in politics, meaning expressing your opinion, being engaged, have your head in the game to some degree, not obsessed with it, but keep your head in the game and know the fundamentals of what's going on. One of the penalties of not doing that is you oftentimes end up being governed by inferiors. But let's go to the Republicans, and let's go to Fox News. I've criticized CNN for, a lot of stuff that comes out of there. I don't know where the term fake news came, if Trump came up with it or whatever, but that is what a lot of fake news. You're seeing a lot of it now. You're seeing a lot of fake news coming out of the Russian media, and you're seeing a lot of fake news coming out of the Ukraine. Now, I understand both of those entities, both of those countries, both those leaders, excuse me, are trying to win over the hearts and minds of the world. So they're going to say whatever they feel will help them do that, regardless of what the real truth is. And just by saying that, I've been criticized of being a tool for Vladimir Putin. Well, if you think that's going to shut me up at this stage of the game, you got another thing coming. I'm not. It's called a thoughtful, real, rational discussion, because that's where the end game is, God willing, going to go. That we don't just keep going the way we're going, name calling, making one knee-jerk reactionary move in terms of weapons that could destroy the world. Hopefully cooler heads prevail, not people that are at ease. People that are saying, hey, we got to step back, take a deep breath, count to 10, and understand and respect the other countries, the other leaders' positions. But again, going over to Fox, watching it last night, still could not believe this escalation campaign, this reckless disregard for the potential consequences. And again, it may sound like, accused of being a Putin puppet. Now, if I say this in terms of Biden, his decision not to give MiGs to the Ukraine, not to institute a no-fly zone. His own Pentagon said that could be disastrous. His concern, he says, about triggering World War III, because I agree with those. Now, his tactics, how he goes about taking that position and doing everything he can to bring that war to a peaceful resolution, is a different thing. I think he's misstepping all over the place. He's just tripping over himself, face planting, putting that ice cream on his forehead with all this stuff. But this constant war drum, saber rattling, coming from otherwise knowledgeable people that I respect, to just be damn the consequences. Let's do everything we can to defeat Putin. Not just in Ukraine. Let's just grind him into dust. I'm talking about people like Lindsey Graham. I'm talking about Mitt Romney. I'm talking about, to a large degree, Sean Hannity, who I love Sean. You got a guy over there, Tucker Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard, being skewered by all the media because they simply said, we need to take a step back and rationally work our way through this with the Russians at the negotiation table. Basically, that's what they're saying. And there could be a real threat of nuclear war that we must consider as we make decisions and choices as the United States of America and Europe as well. Just by saying that. I've watched them. I saw the reports, how they went after Carlson and Gabbard, and saying they said things that they absolutely did not say. And I get, you're a tool of Tucker Carlson. You're a tool of Putin. Well, gosh, darn it, folks. Grow up. You say you want grown-ups. The Democrats said, okay, let's get Biden and Kamala Harris in there. Let's control the Senate, which they got their wish. Let's control the House. They got their wish. And now, quote, the grown-ups are in the room. Yeah, you end up with Rashida Tlaib. What do you think we should do, Mrs. Tlaib? Well, let's impeach the mother effer. You get Ilhan Omar, saying that we're a white supremacist country and there's no hope for this country unless you tear it down and build it back. OAC coming in and saying that the Republicans in Congress all want to have sex with her on her video. Yes, she said that. I got some people to criticize me because, our reporter, Scoop Johnson, did a great job of uncovering some quotes. We'll introduce you to Scoop someday. And I got hit a little bit criticism going, that is poor taste, Alan. She didn't do that. She said that. She said that Jim Jordan and all the Republicans, Ted Cruz, she singled out. She said the reason they criticize her that actually deep inside they want to sleep with her. It's all there. Go look it up on YouTube. But I'm watching this, excuse me, and then I hear General Jack Keane. Here's a general who looks to be older than me, if you can believe that. He's obviously been through Vietnam. He's obviously should know the reality of the situation. He has seen the classified reports. He knows that nuclear war can be a possibility. You would think he would. That, that, like I said, that missile lands in Poland, it starts a domino effect, and Lord knows what happens. But Jack Keane, last night on Laura Ingraham, I believe it was asked about the current policy and Biden saying, okay, we got to watch out for this and watch out for that. And again, coming across very weak. I get all that. But he said something that really made me drop the strawberry I was eating. He said the goal in Ukraine is not to prevent World War III, it's to help Ukraine. Now, I want you to let that sink in again. Here's a general, very respected, a military guy, saying the goal should not be, these are exact words, the goal should not be to prevent World War III. The goal should be to help Ukraine, which you translate that to me is, I really don't care if what we do helping Ukraine with a no-fly zone or sending troops there ends up with World War III. I want what's left of a smoldering Ukraine and the rest of the world to have a free Ukraine. Yeah, you'll have a free Ukraine, all right, You'll have it free of anything that lives and breathes. You have Armageddon. You have something that you see in Hollywood movies that you think would never happen. And that's how these people are proceeding, like they're in a freaking movie. Lindsey Graham, shut up. Don't talk like that. And I respect Lindsey Graham. But you're way out of line. You're better than this. You know more than this. Jordan, smart guy, I love your positions on things. You need to change your freaking tone right now. You all invoke the name of Reagan. You all say, I want to be like Reagan. I'm a Reaganite. It's an insult the way you're conducting yourself. Reagan, during his face-off with the Soviet Union, never talked this way. Never. And he was strong. They knew, push comes to that shove, that if need be, Reagan would go there. But they knew Reagan didn't want that. He was able to communicate through diplomacy with Mikhail Gorbachev. And was able to come to an agreement. And was able to break the Soviet Union economically. Rather than saying, let's go send in a bunch of tanks into East Germany before the wall came down. That would have initiated World War III. He knew that. He was smart. He was very unflappable. He was very calm in the eye of crisis, but he was not at ease. He knew the severity of the situation. We're going to take another quick break here. When we come back, I got to play that quote from Biden on inflation. We're going to change from one disaster to another disaster, inflation here in the United States. And another comment that Joe said that just, it's beyond belief. Trust me. And then we got two callers, Lynn Holt and Laura Fisher. You hang on there. We will get to you, I promise. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat. We'll be right back. Yeah, Laura, Lynn, hang in there. I just want to touch on this soundbite of Biden talking about inflation, which if you haven't heard it, and Nancy Pelosi, it's just, it just makes you shake your head. Just Jose said this the other day. He said, when you think it can't get more absurd, more crazy, it manages to do so. These folks. And I done a lot of thinking on this, as I hope you can tell. A lot of praying. I said, why do they do these things? Why do they say such absurd things? Why do they say such things that once you realize you've been insulted, they can make you mad? And I'm left, again, quoting Thomas Sowell. These people they feel anointed. They feel they're much more intellectually superior to us, normal Americans. They feel that, one day us lowly masses will catch up to them intellectually. But right now, they're required to do anything and say anything for our own good, our limited ability to reason things out and make proper decisions for ourselves. We just don't have that intellectual capability just yet. But the masses are evolving. Maybe in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we will have evolved. The middle class will have evolved as a species, and that middle class people will then possibly be able to carry on a somewhat of a conversation with the intellectually anointed. Now, you think I'm kidding here. I'm telling you, I've been around these folks. I've listened to them. They're edgy babble. I've heard them, and I tell you, it's as long as you get that Harvard degree, you graduate from Ivy League, or you have your credentials, then you have to fight that temptation. You see it to think that you're superior intellectually to people. And you find out, as Thomas Sowell said, you find a lot of those folks that have a lot of information inside their brains. They may have a lot of knowledge, but they have very little consequential knowledge, meaning knowledge that can actually be applied and make things happen and in their abilities and their skill set. Okay. What group haven't I gone after today? There's got to be a few out there. I may have 2 or 3 remaining friends. I got to make sure I get rid of them. The Girl Scouts. I'll go after the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts.
30 seconds.
I love the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts.
Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome back to Alan Autry, No Retreat. Very appropriate lead-in song. Jose's very good at that. Reading my mind. You've been inside my mind. That's a scary place to be, isn't it? Inside my mind. You don't stay there long, but you stay there long enough to know what kind of fool do they think we are? I'm going to play this soundbite because inflation, folks, let me just give you just a quick little, far be it for me to be an economist. Thomas Sowell wrote a great book called Basic Economics. Get that book. It's an easy read, no graphs. And they ask Thomas Sowell, goes, why isn't there a bunch of graphs in there? He says, because I wanted people to read it. And it explains things, and it gets into the basics of inflation. And one of the major causes of inflation is irrefutable. It's undebatable. It's done. It's a fact. It's an axiom. And that is an increased money supply. The more money in circulation, the less money, the less value that money has, and goods and services are going to go higher. It's going to cost more. You got too much money chasing too few goods, a la equals inflation. But I want you to hear this quote day before yesterday, I believe it was, at some function. And here's Joe Biden's explanation of why we're getting $7, $8, $9 at the gallon to gas and everything else that's going on in terms of inflation and rising prices. Roll it, Jose.
I'm sick of this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true.
When we're having this discussion, it's important to dispel some of those who say, well, it's the government spending. No, it isn't. The government spending is doing the exact reverse, reducing the national debt. It is not inflationary.
Okay. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. You just, it is like a Saturday Night Live skit. He looked right into the camera and said that overspending, government spending, at the levels we're spending, does not cause inflation. Nancy Pelosi went even further. She doubled down and said it actually reduces inflation. That if we would have had the Build Back Better bill in place, another $5 trillion of phony money in circulation, your money would be worth more and prices at the pump would go down. What kind of fool do you think we are? Folks, this is who we have at the top. Why is my voice going up 2 or 3 octaves, Jose? I've suddenly become a Seinfeld episode. I used to have a deep voice when I played Bubba. This is just what this leadership does. It takes me macho to mush. Okay. What kind of fool do they think we are? Okay, compose myself. Folks, this is out of hand. And come midterms, I'm an independent. You know, you got to make a change. Come the midterms. We have to. We can't. Let me use this analogy. It's like and hang in there, callers. It's like you find yourself on one of those bridges, Jose, that cross like a river, okay? And the bridge, it's train tracks are on the bridge. If you've ever been to the South, you got a lot of them in the South. Those in the South know what I'm talking about. And on that track, there's very little room for anything but the train. That's why they don't want people on there. And people get killed every year because they say, I'm going to go, no train's been by here in 5 years. They get on there and bam, it happened to a movie set. There's a documentary about it. But say you find yourself on that bridge, on that railroad track. You're halfway down through the cross, and you see the train coming at you. Okay, it's coming at you full speed. You can't run back. There's not enough time to run back. You're really your only chance is to jump off. Now, you don't know how deep that water is. It could be 1 foot deep. It could be 10 feet deep. If it's 1 foot deep, you're dead. Well, but that's the only chance you have. You know you can't stay on the track because you're surely dead. You might have a 10% chance of living if you jump off of that. But you got to jump because you can't stay where you are. Same thing with these midterms. We can't stay where we are. We have to jump and get a whole new crew in here with a whole different ideology in the Senate, in the House, in the presidency. And this is not me talking Republican talking points. I would urge Joe Manchin, I don't think you will, Joe, run for office, run for president. That'd be a race. There'd be a lot of people out there, those independents said, if Joe Manchin ran, picked a good running mate, I really don't if they run Trump, whatever. You just got to change. You've got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, bless their hearts. I feel for them, but I feel for America and the world more. They just got to go. All right, let's go to Lynn Holt, and then we'll go to Laura. Lynn, are you still there, dear? Lynn, are you there?
Yes, I sure am.
Hey, welcome. What you got on your mind, little sister?
Well, before I get into that, concerning Nancy Pelosi, I want to take a direct quote from Bubba.
Uh-oh.
You know what that woman needs, don't you, Chief?
What? Oh, that's it. Oh my gosh. Did I actually say that? Did Bubba character say that? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Lynn. I wasn't expecting that from you. Oh, you up cackling like Kamala Harris. Oh my gosh. I just
don't know that anybody would give her that.
I went Kamala. Okay, Kamala on you. Well, she just needs another flavor of ice cream. That's what she needs. Oh, thank you for.
Oh, get me started.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in. I'm going to go to Laura, but you call back again tomorrow. Because I want to hear your spiritual encouragement. Because I have one too tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Please call in tomorrow. Okay, Laura, are you there? Laura Fisher from Flora.
Alan Autry.
Laura Fisher, what's going on, baby?
Well,
I just broke a lot of rules there, man. I just harassed there. If I said a woman, wait, what's going on, baby? Doing my Elvis. How you doing? I'll shut up.
Okay.
Are you there?
I'm actually, I have PTSD from what you said yesterday, and I was not going to address it because I didn't want to be triggered. You said I sounded like Anthony Blinken. Oh my God.
I knew that would get you, though. I knew that would get you. I said I did that on purpose. I wanted to see you go. I know, folks. If you haven't,
my corn all night long.
I mean, folks. Let me tell you real quick. Let me tell folks, Laura. If you haven't listened to the show that much for your new listener, let's put it this way: Anthony Blinken will not be invited to the Fisher home at all. She is not an Anthony Blinken fan. In fact, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong. In many cases, you think he's probably public enemy number one on so many levels, correct?
Listen, I would give up everything I own to throat punch him once.
Now watch out now. Homeland Security is going to be knocking on your door going, did you threaten a government official?
Hey, 3 times is a charm. Okay.
All right. Well, listen, you said you got a label. Okay. I did that on purpose. I'm sorry, but I did it you knew it was in jest. It was totally in jest. But what you got? You had something about a leak from China?
No, not a leak from
No.
China, but you were talking about Biden and Kamala. First, I'd like to say that Kamala should only be in charge of giving out snacks at cabinet meetings and greeting White House tours. Otherwise, we need to keep her under lock and key. That's a given, okay? That's her skill set. We need to keep her in it.
All right.
Secondly, I really believe that they are dragging this out completely unnecessarily. And I don't think it's just Biden. I mean, and I can't, the one whose name I shall not invoke again. But I also think that our NATO leaders, they need to man up and say, look, Zelensky, you're looking at 15, 20 years before you're even going to be considered for NATO. So let's just let that pipe dream go.
Yep.
And let's get these, because at the end of the day, when these negotiations go down, it's going to be on him. And he's not coming off of that. And it's like, dude, you're going to sit there and let your people die over something you may never become a part of?
Right.
And he's already submitted his application to the EU. I can tell you right now, having read their bylaws, the EU is not going to grant them entry.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're talking reality rather than this alternative reality that these folks.
So if they all sit down and say, look, Zelensky, this is the way it is. You need to go ahead. And I get it. He needs to have some assurances that there's not going to be further invasions. But if he knows without any question or doubt from NATO leaders, by the time you're considered for this, Lavrov and Putin are going to be long gone.
Right. No,
that's a whole other ballywick. We can deal with that down the road. You need to stop the killing now.
Right.
Or we can't help you anymore. Period.
And folks, please don't say Laura, because I deal with this all the time, Laura. She is not putting the onus on Zelensky. It's still on Putin. The thing is, do we need to stop the killing? And the thing is, unless you understand, number one, there's not going to be a no-fly zone. And as long as you make Zelensky believe that he can keep asking for that, keep pleading for that, that could come, that is causing more death. That's not going to happen. And you see now the shelling has started in Kiev. Yeah, the Russians. The Russian army, they haven't acquitted themselves like people thought, but they're winning. They're winning. Because they're going to be in there, and if he has to scorch earth like he did in Syria, Kiev, this man will do it, meaning Putin, right, Laura? He will do it if he has to win. He's not going.
If he has to occupy long term, it's going to be a little bit more challenging for him, just geographically and the number of people.
Right, he's not going to do that.
That's going to be too challenging.
He'll just level cities, but he'll level cities. He's not going to do that. He knows that. He's going to level cities, and sooner or later you have to say, "Uncle."
Well, this is the thing. This is where I'm concerned, because again, we did have a missile strike so close to a NATO border. Okay,
but Joe's at ease with it.
You know, I listen. A refugee is a refugee to me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody deserves that. No, I'm sorry. Nobody deserves to live to suffer that way, and it breaks my heart. It does. It absolutely devastates me. I mean, I'm still dealing with Afghanistan. You know, the disaster that we can handle.
Yep.
And so, yes, I'm heartbroken about it, but I can tell you right now, as much as it pains me to say this and it sounds cold-blooded, I would rather see that than see a tarmac covered with American flag-draped coffins.
Well, here's the thing.
The longer this goes on, the closer we get to him, and maybe not even deliberate, but accidentally.
Well, you've already had 2 Americans killed there. You had American journalist Brent Renault, and our condolences go out to his family. And from what I understand, I may be wrong on this, but a Fox cameraman, I believe, was killed.
Yes.
It's already getting to that point. These are the unintended deleterious consequences that happen when you have a reckless foreign policy and you're not pursuing peace and negotiations immediately. Laura, we only got 2 minutes, but I want to get your take on this. Because in instances like this, there used to be a term called the special envoy. The situation, whatever it may be, is so severe, so consequential, that you get the best and the brightest, not necessarily all political leaders. And you dispatch them to that area to bring people together. And I'm looking, I would be the first phone calls I would make would be to say, George Bush, Barack Obama, put together this special envoy of the best and the brightest and go over there and say, hey, we're going to sit down and we need to talk about this. And China, you need to be at the table as well. And be the escalator of peace rather than the escalator of more hostilities.
I think that should have been done a month ago.
I agree. These people
now we've passed that precipice with Putin because Putin has dug his heels in, and he's not willing to take anything less than 4 things.
Well, I think he can get those 4 things. He can get those. I think he can get them.
They're not, but the problem is Zelensky. It doesn't matter what we agree to or what we say. It's got to come down to Zelensky because Zelensky is not NATO. He's not a NATO partner. And I know this sounds awful. Oh, Lord, forgive me. But it's not our responsibility. And that's infuriating me. It's not our responsibility. Well, we're trying to be global citizens, and that's great. But in order to be a good friend to anyone, sometimes you have to tell them the ugly truth. And the ugly truth is, President Zelensky, you ain't joining NATO.
Laura, we're running out of time here. You just, I tell you, God bless you. And again, whether people agree with her or not, partially, or here's a person who I feel is absolutely an American patriot, and that's Laura Fisher. Lynn Holt, thank you for the I tell you, the little laugh. I tell you, I needed that. God bless you, folks. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, spread the word a little bit. Autry's Army is alive and well, and the good Lord willing, creek don't rise. We'll be here tomorrow, Wednesday, with Mr. Larry Powell. God bless and love y'all. Bye-bye now.